Ladies and gentlemen, today we discuss something profound, a truth as old as human civilization itself. When you betray a loyal woman, she does not simply return to who she was before. She transforms, and not necessarily for the better. You see, loyalty is a choice. A woman who chooses to be loyal does so because she believes in something greater than herself. She ties her identity to a commitment, whether to a partner, a family, or an ideal. But when that trust is shattered, something deep within her fractures. Trust is the foundation of every meaningful relationship, and when that trust is broken, the consequences are far-reaching. A loyal woman does not give her trust lightly. She builds it over time, through sacrifice, patience, and unwavering commitment. When that trust is shattered by betrayal, whether through deceit, infidelity, or emotional neglect, the damage inflicted is not just an emotional wound, it is a psychological restructuring of her entire worldview. The human mind operates on patterns. It seeks predictability because predictability equates to safety. When a woman chooses to be loyal, she does so because she believes in the stability and integrity of the person she has devoted herself to. Her loyalty is not merely a romantic gesture. It is an investment of her emotional, psychological, and even physical well-being. She builds her decisions, her expectations, and her future plans around the assumption that the person she is loyal to will uphold their end of the unspoken contract. Betrayal, then, is not just an act of wrongdoing. It is a psychological earthquake. It violently shakes the foundation upon which she has structured her life and her beliefs. Suddenly, the world does not operate in the way she thought it did. The man she trusted, the relationship she nurtured, the belief that loyalty begets loyalty, all of it comes into question. The human brain, when faced with such dissonance, struggles to cope. It is forced to rewire itself to adapt to the new reality. Trust is dangerous. Vulnerability leads to pain, and loyalty does not guarantee security. This is why betrayal has such a profound effect on a woman's psychology. The pain is not just in the act itself, it is in what the act represents. It tells her that her sacrifices were in vain, that the love she poured into another was not valued in the way she thought it was. This realization breeds deep emotional turmoil. Some women spiral into self-doubt, questioning their worth and wondering if they were simply not good enough to be treated with honesty and respect. Others develop a hardened exterior, choosing to suppress their emotions and detach themselves from future relationships to avoid being hurt again. Psychologists have long studied the effects of betrayal trauma, and the research is clear. Betrayal causes a shift in cognitive and emotional patterns. One of the most common responses is hypervigilance. A woman who was once trusting and open may now find herself constantly looking for signs of deception. She overanalyzes words, actions, and intentions. Her mind, once free to love without restraint, is now occupied by a relentless need to protect itself. This is not paranoia, it is a survival mechanism. Another consequence of betrayal is emotional withdrawal. A deeply hurt woman may struggle to express love in the same way she once did. Affection, once freely given, becomes measured and calculated. She may struggle with intimacy, not because she no longer desires connection, but because allowing herself to be vulnerable feels like stepping into a battlefield unarmed. She is not merely guarding her heart, she is rebuilding it with walls so high that even those with good intentions will struggle to climb them. Over time, the betrayed woman undergoes a transformation, not always one she consciously chooses, but one that is inevitable. Some women emerge from betrayal with a newfound sense of independence and self-reliance, having learned that the only person they can truly trust is themselves. They become stronger, wiser, and less willing to tolerate mistreatment. They set boundaries where none previously existed, and they refuse to settle for anything less than what they deserve. But even in this strength, there is a cost. The woman who once loved with innocence and blind faith no longer exists. For others, the transformation is not one of empowerment, but of disillusionment. They retreat from love altogether, convinced that loyalty is a fool's game and that trust is a liability rather than an asset. They move through life with a lingering bitterness, unable to shake the belief that relationships are inherently fragile and unreliable. This is the tragedy of betrayal. Not just the pain of the moment, but the long-term effects it has on the way a person sees the world. What is particularly tragic is that the one who betrays often underestimates the depth of the damage they have caused. They may assume that time will heal all wounds, that apologies and reassurances will mend what was broken. But trust, once shattered, does not regenerate like a wound on the skin. It is more like a vase that has been dropped. No matter how carefully one tries to piece it back together, the cracks remain. And the woman who once held an unshakable belief in love and loyalty loyalty will never quite look at them the same way again. This is why betrayal is one of the most grievous wounds one human being can inflict upon another. It is not just about breaking a promise or violating an agreement. It is about altering a person's fundamental understanding of safety, love, and connection. A loyal woman does not simply recover from betrayal. She is forced to reconstruct herself entirely. She must decide whether to let the pain destroy her or to use it as fuel for transformation. Either way, the woman she was before is gone, and so those who are fortunate enough to have the loyalty of a woman must understand the weight of that gift. Loyalty is not given freely. It is built through trust, respect, and mutual commitment. To betray it is to destroy something rare and valuable. It is to rewrite the story of a person's life in a way that they never asked for. Pain is one of the most powerful forces in human existence. It can break a person, reducing them to a shell of who they once were, or it can forge them into something stronger, sharper, and more resilient than ever before. When a loyal woman is hurt, the pain she experiences is not just emotional, it is transformative. It forces her to confront the reality that the world is not as she once believed it to be. The love she gave so freely, the devotion she upheld with unwavering consistency, and the trust she placed in another were not enough to shield her from betrayal or heartbreak. That realization changes her irreversibly. At first, pain is pure destruction. It tears through the mind and body like a storm, leaving chaos in its wake. A deeply loyal woman, when hurt, does not simply feel sadness. She feels disoriented, as if she has stepped into an unfamiliar world where the rules she once lived by no longer apply. She had built her understanding of relationships on the foundation of mutual respect and commitment. She believed that loyalty meant something, that love, when given fully and selflessly, would be met with the same depth of care and dedication. When that belief is shattered, she is left not only with heartbreak, but with a crisis of identity. Who is she now if the values she lived by have failed her? In the aftermath of betrayal, she experiences waves of emotions that shift unpredictably. One moment she is grieving what was lost. The next she is furious at herself for allowing such a wound to be inflicted upon her. Self-blame is common in these moments. She replays the past, searching for the signs she missed, the mistakes she made, the moments where she could have shielded herself from the inevitable. This is the mind's desperate attempt to regain control, to believe that if she had done something differently, she could have prevented the pain. But the truth is, loyalty is not a flaw. It is not a mistake to love deeply, to trust wholeheartedly, or to stand by someone through thick and thin. The mistake lies with those who take such devotion for granted and choose to betray it. As the initial shock of the pain settles, something else begins to take shape, a new version of herself, one that is being formed through suffering. Pain, when endured, is a teacher like no other. It strips away illusions and forces a person to see reality with stark clarity. A woman who was once trusting and open-hearted now learns to be more discerning. She becomes acutely aware of red flags, of subtle shifts in behavior, of words that do not align with actions. She sharpens her instincts, no longer willing to overlook what she once ignored in the name of love. This transformation is not always gentle. Sometimes it is ruthless. The woman who once believed in unconditional loyalty may now choose to place firm boundaries where none previously existed. She learns to say no, to protect her peace, to walk away from those who show even the slightest hint of dishonesty or inconsistency. She is no longer willing to be the woman who gives endlessly while receiving only half measures in return. There is a power in this shift, but there is also a loss. The softness that once defined her, the innocence with which she approached love, fades into something more guarded, more skeptical. For some women, this transformation manifests as independence. They channel their pain into growth, pouring their energy into personal achievement, self-improvement, and inner strength. They refuse to let betrayal define them, instead using it as fuel to build a life that is rich and fulfilling on their own terms. They become women who no longer wait for someone to reciprocate their love. They learn to give that love to themselves first. The betrayal that once threatened to break them instead becomes the catalyst for their greatest evolution. For others, however, pain breeds caution, perhaps even cynicism. They struggle to trust again, not because they do not want to, but because the cost of being hurt is too great. They may find themselves hesitant in new relationships, questioning motives, doubting sincerity. They fear that history will repeat itself, that opening their heart again will only lead to further pain. And so they keep a part of themselves locked away, out of reach, even to those with good intentions. This is the dual nature of pain. It can create strength, but it can also create barriers. Some women rise from betrayal with newfound resilience, refusing to be defined by what was done to them. Others carry their wounds like invisible armor, always preparing for the next disappointment. But regardless of the path she takes, one truth remains. she will never be the same. The woman who once loved with unquestioning loyalty, who gave without hesitation, no longer exists in the same form. She has been reshaped by pain, her edges sharper, her heart wiser. What is often misunderstood is that this transformation is not a choice, it is a necessity. A deeply hurt woman does not wake up one morning and decide to change. Rather, the pain forces her to adapt, to survive in a world that has proven itself to be less kind than she once believed. She does what she must to protect herself, to ensure that she never experiences the same level of devastation again. This is why hurting a loyal woman is not just an act of betrayal, it is an act of creation. The person who emerges from that pain is not the person who existed before. She has been forever altered, molded by suffering into something new. She may still be loving, but she loves differently. She may still be loyal, but she is loyal with conditions. She may still believe in relationships, but she no longer believes in blind faith. In the end, the lesson is clear. Pain is a force of transformation. It either strengthens or hardens, but it never leaves a person unchanged. And once a woman has endured deep betrayal, she is no longer the woman she was before. She is someone else entirely. Someone who has seen the depths of heartache and has risen from it, no matter the cost. When a loyal woman is betrayed, the damage does not remain contained within her. It ripples outward, influencing the way she interacts with others, the way she sees relationships, and ultimately the way she participates in the world around her. The impact of emotional damage is never isolated to one moment or one person. It sets off a chain reaction that touches everything and everyone in its path. The first and most immediate effect of betrayal is the shift in how she engages with personal relationships. A woman who once loved with openness and trust now moves with caution, sometimes even suspicion. She hesitates before believing words, before accepting gestures of affection, before fully allowing herself to be vulnerable again. She is no longer just reacting to the betrayal that hurt her, she is anticipating the possibility of it happening again. Her mind, in an effort to protect her, begins to analyze everything with heightened sensitivity. She notices inconsistencies where she may have once overlooked them. She questions intentions even when they are pure. She assumes distance where there may be none, simply because she has learned the painful lesson that trust is fragile and not always deserved. This change in perception does not occur in isolation. It affects her future partners, her friendships, and even her family relationships. She may become more reserved with her emotions, reluctant to express her needs or fears because she has been conditioned to believe that doing so will lead to disappointment. If she was deeply invested in her past relationship, she may also find herself hesitant to invest in another, not because she does not desire love, but because the cost of being wrong again feels too high. In romantic relationships, this manifests as emotional distance. She may struggle to believe in words of affirmation, brushing them off as meaningless because she has heard them before, only to be deceived. She may instinctively pull away when things begin to feel too safe, fearing that security is an illusion. She may even find herself testing the patience and commitment of a new partner, not out of malice, but out of a need to see if they will abandon her when things get difficult. This is not a conscious strategy. It is the mind's attempt to gain control over something it once had no control over. She does not wish to be difficult. She wishes only to avoid the pain she has already endured. But the ripple effect extends beyond romantic relationships. Friendships, too, are affected. A deeply hurt woman may struggle to trust friends in the same way she once did, fearing that loyalty is conditional and that people will leave the moment she needs them most. She may hesitate to lean on others for support, convinced that vulnerability is a liability rather than a bridge to deeper connection. She becomes more self-sufficient, not because she wants to be alone, but because she has learned that dependence can lead to disappointment. This sense of guardedness can extend into family dynamics as well. If she once turned to family members for support and found them dismissive of her pain, she may withdraw emotionally from them. If they took the side of the one who betrayed her or downplayed the significance of her heartbreak, she may begin to feel alienated, even among those she once considered her closest allies. Emotional wounds do not heal in isolation. They change the way a person engages with the world, often making them more selective about who they allow into their lives. Over time, the effects of emotional damage reshape her overall worldview. A woman who once believed in the inherent goodness of people may now approach life with skepticism. She may view love not as a gift, but as a risk. She may see vulnerability not as a strength, but as an opening for harm. The world, once full of possibilities, now appears more dangerous, less forgiving. This is not pessimism. It is a recalibration of expectations based on painful experience. And this recalibration has a larger societal impact. The more people experience betrayal, the more they carry that damage into their interactions with others. A woman who was hurt by one person may in turn become less emotionally available to those who genuinely care for her. She may be colder in her relationships, more hesitant to give affection, more likely to end things at the first sign of trouble. And when those around her experience this change, they too may begin to doubt the sincerity of love and connection. The cycle continues, spreading the effects of betrayal far beyond the original act. This is why the cost of hurting a loyal woman is far greater than it appears on the surface. It does not only affect her, it affects everyone she touches. A man who betrays her may walk away without realizing the full extent of what he has done. He may assume that she will eventually get over it, that time will erase the damage. But what he does not see is the way that damage unfolds in subtle yet significant ways. The way she holds herself differently, the way she hesitates before trusting, the way she second guesses the motives of those who care for her. He may not see how his actions shape her future, but they do. Perhaps the most tragic part of this ripple effect is that it is often irreversible. While healing is possible, and while some women find a way to rebuild their trust in others, the scars remain. They become part of who she is. The lessons she learned through pain cannot be unlearned. She can choose to grow from it, to use it as a foundation for strength, but she cannot return to who she was before. That version of her, the one who believed without hesitation, who loved without fear, no longer exists in the same way. And so the damage done to a loyal woman is never just her burden to carry. It echoes through her future relationships, her friendships, her family dynamics, and even the way she sees the world. A betrayal is not a single moment of pain. It is a wound that bleeds into everything she does. And while she may move forward, she will never be quite the same. The cost of that change is something no one, not even the one who hurt her, can ever truly measure. The rebuilding process after betrayal is not a simple journey of healing. It is a transformation, a reshaping of identity, belief systems, and emotional boundaries. A loyal woman who has been hurt does not simply move on in the way that those on the outside might expect. She does not wake up one day and decide that the past no longer affects her. Instead, the process is slow, often painful, and filled with moments of deep introspection. She must first understand the magnitude of what has happened to her before she can even begin to rebuild herself. The first stage of this transformation is acceptance. But acceptance does not mean forgiveness, nor does it mean forgetting. It means coming to terms with the fact that the world she once believed in is no longer the same. She must acknowledge that the person she trusted was not who she thought they were, and that the love she gave was not valued in the way she had hoped. This realization is often the most difficult because it is not just about grieving the betrayal. It is about grieving the version of herself that was lost in the process. In this stage, she is forced to confront difficult questions. Why did I allow myself to trust so deeply? How did I not see the signs? What does this mean about my ability to judge character? These questions are not meant to assign blame to herself, but they are unavoidable. The mind, in its effort to regain control, will always seek answers, and while those answers may never fully come, she must navigate this painful self-examination to move forward. As she processes this loss, anger becomes a central emotion. Anger at the person who hurt her, anger at herself for trusting, anger at the world for allowing such pain to exist. This anger is not a sign of weakness. It is a necessary step in the transformation. It is the fire that burns away the illusions she once held, the force that propels her forward. But how she handles this anger determines the direction of her transformation. Some women allow it to consume them, turning them bitter and resentful. Others channel it into strength, using it as fuel to create a new version of themselves, one that will never allow such betrayal to happen again. This is when the real work of transformation begins. She starts to redefine her boundaries. Before, she may have been someone who tolerated mistreatment, who gave second chances without hesitation, who excused bad behavior in the name of love. But now she realizes that protecting herself is not selfish, it is necessary. She learns to say no, to walk away, to demand respect rather than hope for it. This is one of the most profound changes in a hurt woman. She no longer operates from a place of blind faith. She operates from a place of wisdom. Her standards rise. She no longer entertains people who bring uncertainty into her life. She no longer accepts apologies without action, nor does she invest in those who fail to show consistency. She understands now that love is not just about words. It is about effort, integrity, and follow through. This shift in standards is not about becoming cold or unapproachable. It is about ensuring that she never again gives her heart to someone who does not deserve it. As she rebuilds herself, she also begins to discover new aspects of her identity. Pain has a way of revealing strength that was previously unknown. The woman who once sought validation through love now seeks it within herself. She realizes that she does not need anyone to complete her. She is already whole. She may dive into personal growth, exploring new passions, careers, or creative outlets that she had previously neglected. She may focus on self-care in ways she never did before, understanding now that her well-being must always be a priority. This transformation does not mean that she will never love again, nor does it mean that she has shut herself off from relationships, but it does mean that she will love differently. She will love with wisdom rather than blind devotion. She will give her heart, but not without first ensuring that it is going into hands that will cherish it. She will be open, but she will also be cautious. This is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of growth. One of the most powerful aspects of this transformation is the shift from victimhood to empowerment. When betrayal first occurs, it can feel like an attack on one's sense of self. The betrayed person often feels powerless, as though their life has been upended by forces beyond their control. But as she rebuilds herself, she realizes that she is not defined by what was done to her. She is defined by how she rises from it. She is no longer the woman who waits for someone to recognize her worth. She knows her worth. She no longer tolerates half-hearted love. She requires full commitment. She no longer gives endlessly to those who do not reciprocate. She invests in those who deserve her energy. And this new version of herself is not bitter, but wise. She is not afraid to love, but she is intentional about who she gives that love to. The final stage of transformation is peace. It does not come easily, and it does not come quickly. But over time, she learns to let go, not for the sake of the one who hurt her, but for her own sake. She understands that carrying the pain forever only gives power to the past. And so she releases it, not because she forgets, but because she refuses to let it define her future. In the end, the betrayal that once threatened to destroy her becomes the very thing that made her stronger. She has been reshaped by pain, but not in a way that makes her weaker. She is more discerning, more self-assured, more resilient. She knows now that her loyalty is not a gift to be given to just anyone. It is something to be earned. And once she reaches this realization, she steps into a new chapter of her life, not as a broken woman, but as a woman who has been reborn through her own strength. The final stage of transformation after betrayal is the realization that while pain has changed her, it does not have to define her. A loyal woman who has been hurt carries scars, but those scars are not signs of weakness. They are proof of survival, of lessons learned, of wisdom gained. She understands now that trust is not something to be given blindly, but something that must be earned. She sees the world with clearer eyes, recognizing that not everyone who comes into her life has pure intentions. Yet, despite everything, she must make a choice. Will she live guarded forever, or will she find the courage to embrace life again? One of the greatest battles a deeply hurt woman faces is the struggle between self-protection and openness. The instinct to protect herself is strong, and rightfully so. She has seen firsthand what happens when she allows herself to be vulnerable to the wrong person. She has felt the devastation of misplaced trust, and she has rebuilt herself from the wreckage. It would be easy to close herself off entirely, to never risk being hurt again. And for some time, she may do exactly that. She may find comfort in solitude, in self-reliance, in the knowledge that she no longer needs anyone to complete her. But over time, another realization sets in. Closing herself off to pain also means closing herself off to love, to connection, to the very things that make life meaningful. And so she must find a balance, one that allows her to protect herself while still leaving room for joy. This is no simple task. It requires her to unlearn the fear that pain has instilled in her, to trust herself enough to know that she will never again allow the wrong person to dismantle her sense of self. She must believe that she is strong enough to handle whatever comes, whether it is love or loss. This newfound strength is not just about relationships. It extends into every area of her life. She approaches her career with a renewed sense of determination, knowing that she is capable of standing on her own. She cultivates deeper friendships, prioritizing connections with those who have proven themselves trustworthy. She embraces personal growth, pushing herself toward the goals and aspirations that may have once been placed on hold for the sake of someone else. She is no longer waiting for happiness to come from external sources. She is creating it for herself. Her transformation also impacts those around her. People notice the change in her. She carries herself differently, with a quiet confidence that was not there before. She no longer seeks validation from others because she has found it within herself. This shift is powerful, and it often attracts a different kind of person into her life. People who respect her strength, who see her not as someone to be taken advantage of, but as someone to be valued. And yet, despite all this growth, there will be moments when the past resurfaces. There will be times when old wounds ache, when memories of betrayal creep back in. Healing is not linear, and pain has a way of lingering in unexpected ways. But now she has the tools to handle it. She no longer drowns in the pain. She acknowledges it, allows herself to feel it, and then lets it go. She understands that her past experiences have shaped her, but they do not define her future. Perhaps the most important realization she comes to is this: the betrayal that once seemed like the end was in fact a beginning. It was the catalyst for a deeper understanding of herself, for a transformation that she never would have undergone had she not been forced to. It taught her what she will and will not accept. It showed her that she is stronger than she ever thought possible. She is no longer the same woman who once loved blindly, who gave endlessly without ensuring she was receiving the same in return. But she is also not bitter or broken. She is wise, discerning, and self-assured. She has taken her pain and turned it into power. And as she steps forward into this new version of herself, she does so with the knowledge that she has survived the worst and that the best is yet to come. A loyal woman who has been hurt will never be the same, not because she is broken, but because she has been transformed. Betrayal is not just a wound, it is a catalyst for deep and irreversible change. She will never love in the same naive, unquestioning way again, nor will she tolerate what she once excused. The world she once believed in has shifted, and so has she. But from that pain, she emerges wiser, stronger, and more self-aware. She no longer seeks validation from others. She finds it within herself. She no longer gives her heart freely to those who have not earned it. She demands reciprocity and respect. She has learned that love should never come at the cost of self-worth, and that loyalty is a gift meant for those who honor it. Yet despite everything, she does not become hardened beyond repair. She does not let the betrayal define her in bitterness. Instead, she rebuilds carefully, intentionally, and with the wisdom of experience. She protects herself, not by closing off entirely, but by setting firm boundaries that safeguard her heart without suffocating it. In the end, the woman who emerges from betrayal is not the same as she once was, but she is greater. She is a testament to resilience, to the power of self-reclamation, to the undeniable truth that pain can shape, but it cannot destroy. And as she steps forward, she does not look back with regret. She carries her lessons, her strength, and the unshakable certainty that she will never settle for less than she deserves again.